so what I'm hearing is like the framework was built with this intention of supporting the idea of a mindset shift and of a level of like personal commitment to the change that they're wanting to see in a different way than they have before. And so I'm wondering, sometimes I could imagine that people might still come in and kind of see this framework of like, oh, okay, I'm just paying, basically thinking of like, I'm just paying for my appointments in advance versus really jumping into that mindset. So I'm wondering, like, what are some of the things that you do as you're working with clients to help them to really move into that place of a mindset shift, in addition to providing the framework for it, but like really like helping to continually ground them in that mindset shift?
Yeah, so I would say there's kind of two components to this. One is logistics, which I'll get into in a second, and then one is about the way in which we work with people. So sort of the personal growth side. So a lot of the work is really because we specialize in working with sexual challenges, sexual growth, sexual success. We really focus our goals on those aspects and working toward those things, because it can be so easy in these undefined therapy goals sometimes to just like get off track, and we totally collude with not wanting to deal with sex because, like, of course it's a very challenging issue sometimes to have to like peek under the hood. And so we don't collude with those things that are nice and distracting. We make sure that we are helping clients stay focused on the topics and hearing what they really want, hearing what their challenges are and what their goals are and what success looks like for them, and helping them sort of stay on path to achieving those. And of course, if things need to shift or change, like as we move, we're always in collaboration with clients. But I think that's one of the things that helps really solidify this model. And then the other thing is like logistics around how we structure what we do. And so that could look like, for instance, in one of our models, you might get 4 therapy hours each month. And some clients choose to attend all 4 therapy hours. Some clients decide that instead of having one of those hours, they use it for date night, because maybe they have super busy schedules and they just can't seem to fit in all 4 therapy hours in the month. But the therapist or the coach helps them figure out a way of like how to make date night feel even more successful, when in the past it's just ended in like tears and disappointment. And so this isn't necessarily paying in advance, paying a certain fee and then you're guaranteed those 4 sessions and then they'll carry over. If not, like, it's not necessarily about how many sessions can we accumulate. It's about how much growth do you work on and what sort of tools are there and available for you based on whatever's going to work in your life in that moment. And it might not be engaging in the group calls or the online content, or it might not be in, all of the sessions, as I mentioned. So that's one way that that's another way that we kind of help support this model and commitment to making change and being really empowered in one's sexual success.
Yeah. So what I'm really hearing is that it's really beneficial for clients to come in and really see it as, what they are committing to with their time and with their financial resources is access to our program. And that our program might include different offerings like therapy, it might include coursework, it might include groups, but that they really get to specially kind of tailor it to what works best for them. And so even if they're coming in with the mindset of like, okay, I need to take advantage of all of these things that I have access to, that's not really the mindset we're looking for. What we're really looking for is what, as I enter into this month with my membership, right, what is going to make the most sense for my life as far as like pulling into these different resources, right? What's going to make the most sense and set me up for the most success and having the best month possible with my relationship to change in the way that I want to see it. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think another component of it too is, when we look at time, money, energy, resources, and investments, one of the reasons why we do what we do is because, again, we want to make sure that we're trying to help shift change or create a shift and change as quickly as possible. And we know that we can't always make a promise of time because, like, who knows what you're going to find when you look under the hood. But being able to know that this is a little bit more short term if they want, at least, like, you know, there's there could be a lot of intensive work in the beginning. But there could be continued work if they want to, but kind of our idea is, instead of having, getting a referral from a doctor and going to a sex therapist, which sometimes could take even the most skilled therapists. Like, I certainly am, guilty of this, that, like, sometimes it took years before we found resolution, or, in best cases, like longer months, like, closer to a year. And with this, even though, of course, we're not promising that things can be done in a more short-term way, we've designed all of this so that if a person doesn't want to have necessarily that lengthy experience, there can be some way where they can feel empowered to take on their treatment at home when they're in their pajamas and they know that they don't have another, session for another week or maybe 2 weeks. And so they kind of want to learn on their own about these, science-based somatic ways of helping sexual health be, like, really meant for them, like finding what works for them. So then that's where we have the online client learning center, for instance. And so we found that using the online client learning center was a really effective way for clients to get the information they needed, where they didn't have to spend, a month maybe reading a book, or if they wanted to learn some information from the expert, from, the specialist, but didn't want to spend the time in session doing all of that. So we found all the things we kept saying on repeat, put them in videos. And then that way, the private sessions were able to be spent on really processing that information and applying it to their lives, rather than the first 15 minutes being spent on this educational stuff that could just be found in a video. So we found that sort of like combination was really, really effective. And that's how we found that this was going to help make treatment be a lot shorter for a lot more people.
Yeah. So it sounds like our program and kind of the boutique mindset is really, really tailored for and specific to people who are coming in with a specific issue in mind that's related to sexuality that they're wanting to work on, and are feeling really motivated to spending at least 3 months really focusing on making shifts and following through with kind of some of the things that we know are helpful for change in that way. And so someone who's aware of what it is that they're coming in for, someone who's really motivated and really interested in following through. And that's going to be the people who are going to get the most out of our program. Is that
Absolutely. Right? Yeah, very much so.